Ladies and gentlemen, the event is about to start. Please take your seats. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So the title of our talk today is Ox Delivers Climate Change in Sub-Saharan Africa. Let's skip down. So my name is Aida Moftah, and this is my colleague Bassem Khalifa. We both work for a company called Ox Delivers, which is a clean logistics company that owns and operates our own fleet of electric trucks based in the UK and Rwanda. Through working with Ox, we're able to address the massive transport poverty which has disproportionately affected women and the global south worldwide. And we try to address that problem in an accessible and affordable way for our customers. I'd just like to take a minute to say hello to all of our colleagues in Rwanda. We're 75 strong there now, and they have done wonders in helping us with the video assets that you're going to see here today. So thank you to them. So a little bit about myself quickly. So again, my name is Aida, and I am the business lead at Ox Delivers. And what I do for the team kind of shifts around, and I guess that's the nature of a startup, right? It goes from speaking and telling our story to external parties, doing some boring paperwork here and there, some pseudo video production. And I guess that makes us kind of like chameleons in some sort of interesting way. Over to you.
Hi, I'm Bassem Khalifa. I am the impact lead at Ox Delivers. Most of the last year I've spent working on our internal systems and data analysis, and starting, well, after COP, the focus will be on building systems for measuring our impact.
So I just want to take another minute to let you guys know that we've got a Q&A coming soon, as you can see on screen. And if you'd like to join in, just scan that QR code or put in that code and send in your questions through. All right. So what we're going to show you next is a video on how we are addressing the transport needs in Rwanda. So who better to tell you that story than our colleagues in Rwanda? Let's take a look.
Hello. Murakoze guhamagara kuri Ox Rwanda. Ishami rya Kayove.
Twagiye kurangura ku munsi wa gatatu. Tugezeyo kurangura bisanzwe, tuvuyeyo tugera kuri pfunda.
Murifuza imodoka ikora ibintu hehe bijyana hagana hehe? Murakoze cyane. Reka turaje tubahuze n'imodoka iri hafi aho ngaho kugira ngo batwarire.
So yes, we started out exploring the business model, so the economic model, with the diesel trucks, just because there is very little data available in rural areas as to who moves what and how much do they charge.
Byazaga bimwe n'amagare babigeza kuri pfunda. Amara kubigeza kuri pfunda tukategereza imodoka izahita yariyo yose. Yaba ndayihatse cyangwa tagisi cyangwa indi modoka yigenga yariyo yose twabonaga. Byabaga ngombwa rero ko tuyitegereza. Isaha se umunota haba saa sita z'ijoro, haba mu gitondo saa 12, nukuvuga ngo igihe cyose waba guhari utegereje. Igihe yaziraga nibwo wagendaga.
Imodoka ni nkeya cyane muri kano karere, cyane ko nk'aha ngaha mu karere kacu dukoreramo imodoka ishobora gutwara toni 1 cyangwa toni 2 ntazo. Ibyo rero byatumye tuzana imodoka ziri muri urwo rugero kugira ngo umuturage ashobore kugeza umusaruro we ku isoko.
hari igihe wagiraga nk'imifuka 2 ya karoti cyangwa imifuka 5 ya karoti, amashu cyangwa ibitunguru, imvura ikazaza kugwa iragwaga ikabinyagira. Ibyaboraga muri ibyo nibyo byabaga ari byinshi, cyangwa se mo kimwe imodoka zikabura. Iyo zaburaga hari igihe byaboreraga ku muhanda.
So the ox truck was designed to solve a problem in that existing car manufacturers and truck manufacturers are not designing vehicles that are suitable for the bad roads, bad conditions, bad rain that we find in rural areas. They're also very expensive. So the ox truck was designed from the get-go, from the very start, as flat packable, as simple to assemble. We'll do the assembly in Rwanda. Simple to maintain, simple to operate. At the end of the day, we are a logistics company. Serving the rural areas, yes, and using an electric truck because it makes the most economic and practical sense to do so.
Hari byinshi imaze kungezaho, ntago ariko nabivuga ngo mbirondore. Ntago byaba byinshi ariko ngereranyije naho narindi icyo gihe naho ndubu ngubu ntaho bihuriye.
I was saying I can't think of another country where I could have set up a company within 5 months and hired people, been shipping coffee. Our first kilo was coffee. I can't think of another country where this would have been possible. And then third, I was looking around at the peer group of companies, such as people such as Ampersand, as REM, VW Move, all engaged in mobility and doing a great job at it. So after that sort of research, we then decided that Rwanda was the right place to start and the right place to invest in.
So I guess a little bit more context. I think your mic is on. Is it? Yeah. So we started operations in Rwanda in March. We started operations in Rwanda March last year, March 2021. So we've essentially spent the last 20 months proving that there is a market, there is demand for this, and that there's a product market fit, and sort of working through what that means, what we need to do. To be honest, the uptake has been phenomenal, way better than we expected. And I guess Ox is kind of in a sweet spot where we actually operate the trucks ourselves. Oh, okay, so Ox is in a sweet spot where we essentially operate the trucks ourselves, which means we have the same concerns as all other fleet operators, primarily cost and capability. With cost, we need to reduce the total cost for moving a 2-ton load per kilometer. And with capability, we need a truck that moves about 160 to 200 kilometers a day in off-road conditions, carrying 2 tons, essentially. And I guess the commercial operation of Ox teaches us what this needs. As you might have noticed, the trucks that we're using right now are diesel trucks, and that was essentially a matter of trying to prove that there is a market and figuring out all kinds of things like what is the cost that we need, what are the distances we need to move, and so on. And the way we get at this is by using the electric Ox. And we're often asked why your own truck, and I guess the short answer is because nobody else is doing it. And when we can control the supply chain and control how it's built, we can manage it for long-term maintenance as opposed to the sale price. I guess the last point I want to talk about here is that we're not making this all up from scratch. We're essentially reconfiguring components, whether it's for how we build the truck. So we're using tier 1 supplier products like batteries and EDUs and control systems. And then we're reconfiguring them into something that's purpose-built for this use. That's one. And the other part of it is we're also sort of reconfiguring the business model. Rather than worrying about what is the sale price of our car, we think about what is the long-term cost of the car, which means that we need to prioritize maintenance over sales and over aesthetics.
All right, so I guess the next question is, why now? So why, after all these years, should entrepreneurs and investors and individuals start investing in Africa, and in particular, e-mobility in Africa? Well, let me tell you. The next decade of change is going to come from Africa, and we as a continent desire and demand innovation. We have proven time and time again that we are willing to be early adopters of technology, and for-profit enterprises have come to realize that, and they see the value in that, some of them, at the very least. My next point is that climate change and transport poverty disproportionately affect the global south, and in particular women, like I said earlier. And imminent action needs to be taken in order for us to make a dent in climate change. While energy is often a concern, emerging markets and frontier markets like Rwanda, Ghana, Kenya are actually very energy abundant. And they are often sourced through renewable sources and grids that are progressively becoming greener. That leads nicely into my next point, that EV is, or electric vehicles, is a productive use of that energy and supports the development of grid extensions. So emerging markets spend quite a lot of money on importing fuels. Electric vehicles are also a catalyst in reducing the cost of those imports. And then finally, transport poverty presents an opportunity to leapfrog traditional transport infrastructure.
So how do we make an impact? I'm going to go a little off script here and talk about a few other things. So Ox was conceived from the ground up as a purposeful business. It started by asking the question, how do we deliver transport to the billions of people that car manufacturers aren't designing for, and whose business models, frankly, aren't built for? And all the way to the kinds of people that we attract in the team and the kinds of the way we build the business and the kinds of services that we come up with and deliver. When we did a mapping exercise of our impact to SDGs, we came up with about 10 SDGs that we directly impact either through the services we deliver or through the way we're structuring and building our company. 10 is a lot, so hang in there while I won't go through them. But I'll highlight a few points. We're essentially, I guess what we realized is that we're essentially in the plumbing of the food energy nexus. We move a lot of things in the countryside, lots of agricultural inputs, agricultural outputs. And so we're impacting food systems. And we're doing it using energy, which means there's a lot of potential for impact, hopefully most of it good. And I'll just highlight a few points. So obviously the first one that we're concerned with is what we're all gathered here for today, or these 2 weeks, which is climate. As we start shifting our fleet to EV over the next 18 months, we'll see more and more gains in, or reductions rather, in CO2. The second, I guess, is around food systems and sustainability, and food system sustainability and poverty reduction. So moving these goods around the countryside in a more efficient, manner with more reliability and often with cold chains when we need to, means that we can really impact the food loss, which is a big issue in rural supply chains. But also we hopefully are improving farmer incomes, reducing poverty in general for the bottom 40%, all SDG goals. And finally, I guess the last thing is that we create really good jobs, we pay a living wage, we give a lot of benefits like private health insurance, and we have a lot of pro-worker policies, and we also have a remarkably high female-to-male ratio, especially for this industry. We hover generally around 40 to 50% of our drivers being female, which is really such a great achievement. I guess we have a video for that too.
Hello, my name is Ferdinand Munezero. I'm the Ox Rwanda Training and Development Lead, and this is Ox. This is our Ox Ngororero depot. It is one of the 4 depots we have in operation. Every team member is a driver plus. That means they don't only drive, they are trained to do marketing, market research, customer service, market analysis, maintenance, and many other things. We are really so happy to have such fantastic team.
I'm an Ox Depot manager. I started at Ox 1 year and 3 months ago as a Driver Plus. In Driver Plus program, I have learned so many new skills and I got a lot of certified training. It is also really great to be able to work and be a mom at the same time. This is my son Miguel. At Ox, you have access to free childcare at the depot. This means I can do my work and be there for my children without feeling I need to give up one for the other. I can do both.
Each of the Ox depot will be able to accommodate 10 electric Ox trucks at a time, maintenance facilities and tools, multiple 40 containers and administrative office, and 30 staff members are able to live in the facility with full amenities when at a scale stage. When a customer makes an order, they call our short code, which is 6960. So this is a free number to call and contact our dispatchers. When the order comes in and it's accepted, we put it in the Ox web application. This will then assign a truck to the order on our Driver Plus smartphone app.
The idea is that as soon as we have enough EVs in the market, we release our USS application. This is an app that can be used by any phone to make orders. 10% of all tomatoes produced in Rwanda are lost in the transport process. With the app being refined, we can dispatch our EVs in a more efficient way, so reducing overall food waste and delivering a better and streamlined service for our customers.
We have big plans of Oxy, and we are hoping to have all our entire fleet to be electric in the next 18 months. Through doing this, we have been able to serve members of the community. We are creating many local jobs currently, but as more electrical vehicles comes into Ox, we will start building our micro factories where we will be doing assembling trucks in Rwanda. We are able to train our staff to get transferable skills that can help them in long-term careers. It is very important to us to invest in our community.
Twakoraga urugendo rurerure tukaruha nyine.
Imizigo yacu yararaga mu nzira, muri make tukagira n'ubute bwo kuza kubera ko bimwe bitagendaga, ugasanga bimwe byapfapfaniye mu nzira.
Projet zafashe ikintu gikomeye cyane mu gihugu cy'u Rwanda, duhere muri Nyamasheke aho twatangiriye, aho projet yatangiriye. Mbere abaturage baho kubijanye na transport, kubijanye n'ubwikorezi byarabagoraga cyane.
Kubera Oxy nsigaye mbona umwanya uhagije wo kwita ku muryango wanjye ndetse n'abana banjye. Nkabona n'umwanya uhagije wo gukora akazi kanjye k'ubucuruzi. Mbere byarangoraga cyane kugera aho ncururiza bikansaba urugendo runini, kandi ugasanga ibyanjye bibasha gupfa no kwangirika bitewe n'uko kugeza ibicuruzwa byanjye aho bijya byangoraga cyane. Kubera ko nakoreshaga amagare mu gutwara ibicuruzwa byanjye mbigeza aho bigomba kugera, byaramvunaga, ugasanga mpuriyemo n'ingorane nyinshi bikabasha kuba byakwangirikira mu nzira. Ubundi buryo bwo gutwara imizigo yacu buracyahenze cyane, kandi akaba n'igihe tububuze kugira ngo babashe kudufasha. Ugasanga n'ibintu byacu twaranguye birangiritse kubera kubura abadutwaza. Ariko hamwe na Oxy nshobora gutwara ibintu byinshi bikagera ku masoko ahantu henshi kandi bikampa amafaranga menshi.
Muri buri mudugudu haba ibikorwa by'umuganda. Uyu munsi akaba ari umunsi abaturage bahuriye hamwe kugira ngo bakore ibikorwa bibateza imbere, biteza n'imbere igihugu. Dukora rero mu bikorwa by'umuganda, dukora imihanda, dukora amateme, turwanya isuri, dukora ibikorwa byo kongera umusaruro. Muri ibyo bikorwa rero tukaba dufatanyamo n'abakozi ba Oxy. Twishimiye rero uburyo umuganda uteza imbere abaturage n'uburyo abakozi ba Oxy babidufashamo.
Umuganda is very important to us. Helping the community where we work. It's a good way to make sure that the community is happy. We are also happy because we can use better roads. This is safer for everyone. If we are walking or driving, it is also better for the trucks and we can reach our customer more easily. Of course, we help with this because it makes a difference for everyone, villages, Driver Plus, the customers and everyone.
ifite imodoka z'amashanyarazi. Mu Rwanda turi mu icyambere twitaho cyane no kurwanya ihumanuka ry'ikirere. Rero urumva ko OX ibifitemo uruhare runini cyane kuba rutahumanya ikirere mu bwikorezi bwayo.
Rwandans are very passionate about the ecosystem, our country, and the wildlife here. By working with OX, we have the opportunity to work together to protect this beautiful country and our planet.
Izo modoka zije z'amashanyarazi yaba ari iterambere rirenze iryo duhagazemo. Iryo rero turarikeneye twese.
It feels good to know that my job cares about me, Rwanda, and the planet. This way I wake up to know that I'm making the world better every day with OX.
So let me do a little framing of the OX model. The way we think of our business is that there are three main pillars. The one pillar is the OX truck that is designed purpose designed for the uses that we have. The second is, and you saw a bit of this in the video, the digital ecosystem. Whether it's the app that the drivers use or the sort of data channeling that we have, that digital ecosystem that links all of our different bits together is a key component. And finally, we think of the depot as a unit. So we have the depot unit, you can click through. And the depot unit is essentially houses about 10 EV trucks, and it's staffed by about 25 to 30 people, mostly drivers plus, but also support staff such as maintenance, such as and other services for the staff of the depot. And it takes about $150,000 in capex and working capital to get this to break even. That should take about 18 months on the bottom on the right. And ideally, we forecast that the payback will be in under 3 years for the full investment. Every year, 10 EV trucks should save 275 tons of CO2 compared to diesel transport, which when you scale this out makes a big difference. And it serves about 2,000 people, mostly smallholder farmers and small dealers and agro traders, as well as generally about 10 corporate contracts, each of which is supporting a whole bunch of things that you can think about coffee or tea producers. Off to you.
So we'd like to open the floor to you all now. So now that we've walked you through what OX does and how we believe other companies can follow suit, please don't forget to submit your questions and we'll go through them right now. Sorry, it's loading. All right, so a question from Anonymous is, why are you guys choosing to build your own trucks rather than buy other companies' trucks? Since you spoke about that, Bassem, do you want to tackle that?
Well, I guess the main reason for the moment is that we haven't found what we need elsewhere. Most cut trucks are designed for their sale price, and most business models are based on maximizing the sale price of the single car. And then once that's done, you're sort of not really concerned except for maybe the sales of spare parts. But when you operate when you're operating the trucks yourself, one of the better ways to sort of reduce the long-term cost is to reduce maintenance. And so we're designing this truck for maintenance. And for a long shelf life, which reduces its overall, again, it's all about the cost per kilometer of moving 2 tons of whatever goods it is.
All right.
Hope that gets at the answer.
I think that was a great answer. Thanks, Bassem. Next one comes from one of our biggest fans, actually. Shout out to Brian. What challenges do you face adapting user behavior to adopt this new service over traditional methods of transport? And if you don't mind, I'd like to take this one. Honestly, the Rwanda team that we've got on board makes this easy because they are locals and they know the locals better than anyone else. They serve as our marketing team. As you saw in the video previously, they don't just drive, they do so many different things, and a part of that is marketing. And being able to provide competitive pricing that is kind of on par with a bicycle, and instead giving them motorized options that'll take their goods further and to more expensive markets, it's kind of easy math to any person, really. So the Rwanda team makes it easy, and I think the business model speaks for itself in that sense.
Yeah, I guess I would add also, I mean, we do come into bumps. Like, for example, people are not used to the truck that they order showing up on time. And so often we get there, the truck gets there, and things haven't been loaded up in bags. But one of the ways that we deal with this is just by consistency. When you show up every time on time, people realize that, okay, this is a dependable person. And really, that's a large part of what our service offering is. It's the reliability. As you may have heard in the videos, often people struggle with, I call the truck, I only have 5 sacks of potatoes, but it takes 40 sacks to fill a truck, right? And so if this truck gets another load on the way, he's going to ignore the first order and go to this big full load. So I guess reliability is a key part of what we're actually offering and what customers really like about this service.
Yeah, thanks for that, Bassem. That is like a lot of our customers tend to say things of the sort. I'm sure you saw some of them in the video. Next up is, what countries are next after Rwanda? That's an interesting one.
Come talk to us later if you have an idea, I guess is the short answer. We've thought about this a bunch, and we're not entirely sure where the next is. I think the next, essentially, we've sort of decided that the next year, 2023, will really be about like learning, more learning in market, more testing of new services, more tightening of our operation, setting our processes so that we're ready to scale. We imagine somewhere towards the back end of next year, we'll start thinking about where the next market is. We have sort of 2 main directions, and hopefully the rest of the team won't shoot me for that. One is to expand organically, right? So right across, we already have requests from our customers to grow across the border, whether this is to Uganda or to DRC. So that's one way, is figuring out how to move into the next market just sort of organically as we've spread out these depots organically. The other is to find another anchor country somewhere else, like Rwanda, and sort of build out an operation there and use that to expand, whether it's in Western Africa or Southern Africa. We don't have a final answer yet, but those are our sort of thoughts right now, and we'll start figuring it out in the second half of next year.
Yeah. Off the back of that, actually, we have a question from Hajar, or Hagar. I'm not sure whether she is Egyptian or from elsewhere, so dependent on that a little bit. But she's asking, the OX application is already applied in Rwanda, East Africa. So are there any plans like this app, to have this app in Egypt or the Middle East? And I think the answer is that we're not opposed to it at all. With organic growth or the other plans that we have, the app kind of is an independent product in that sense. It's not a physical product. If at any point we decide that we would actually like to sell that product, it would be, I imagine, very applicable in areas like the Middle East and Egypt specifically. So I don't think we're opposed to it, but I'm not gonna make any calls for anyone on the team.
Yeah, I guess I'll just add that the app currently is internal, and you may have caught Lionel saying, once it's all set up, we're going to set up this USSD thing. We don't use USSD so much in Egypt, but it's essentially the text menu system, because a lot of people don't have smartphones, and so they rely on this like hash menu system. That, once it's rolled out, will probably be something that we would be able to move along. But for now, it's essentially an internal app that manages our logistics and is used primarily by the drivers, not by the customers. We have had people sort of reach out to us talking about it, but we really haven't moved that far. And again, I think we're sort of in the phase of, we've only really been running for less than 2 years. And so we're still sort of tightening everything before we want to like set it outside of ourselves, I suppose.
I think this one might be one of yours, Bassem, or geared towards you. How do you measure your ESG impact?
The honest answer, not so well yet. But it's essentially one of our big plans for 2023. Like I said, that's in the last year I've sort of been mainly working on internal systems and doing data analysis for more of the business side of things. But starting after COP and a break from the year, the main focus for me personally, but also I think one of the main focuses for the company will be sort of figuring out how do we measure, how do we do this. We have a bunch of partners that already have some preliminary data. So we work with Aurora Wahazi, a USAID project in Rwanda, and they do catchment household income data. And they haven't been doing it for a year yet, but we're hoping that in the spring, sometime around March or May or something, they're going to do their 12-month update. And that will be one way that we can start to look at, are we actually having, is there change happening in the districts that we work in? And then I think CO2 will start on once we have actual EVs in the truck and can measure it, right? We don't have EVs in the market yet, so it's all based on calculations compared to diesel trucks that we're running now.
I mean, we do have OX1. It is a prototype, though. That is an EV currently in market, and it's taken a couple loads. So another question is, and I really like this one, is there a reason the truck looks so boxy? And yeah, there is a reason for that, actually. And I think the simplest answer to that would be that the design is simple and it's easy to fix. So there's none of that like flashy stuff that you'd see in traditional vehicles, like, well, I'm not going to call anyone out. But it's so boxy because we can basically plug and play anything, and it makes it really easy to fix. Also, our chassis isn't steel stamped. It comes in pieces and is welded together, which makes it, again, easy to fix. So that's why it looks so boxy.
Easy to fix, easy to assemble. So one of the things that we're planning is that we don't have to build these in Europe or in China or wherever. The idea is to like send parts to wherever is closest. So maybe Mombasa or Dar es Salaam, and channel that like those parts into somewhere in East Africa where these can be constructed. You may have caught that we're shipping in flat packs, or the design to ship in flat packs, kind of like IKEA furniture, I guess, where you like assemble it in market. Again, creating good jobs, creating like valuable jobs and high-skilled ones. That's one. And the other is, I guess, goes back to the whole original thing. We're not designing for aesthetics. We're not designing for sale. We're designing for lifetime value of the truck. Exactly.
It's all about being practical in our eyes. And also, we're not sponsored by IKEA, everyone. I just wanted to make that clear. So, another really interesting question is, do you charge with solar? And I guess the easy answer is not at the moment. We're still looking into putting in our transport infrastructure, or our charging infrastructure into the depots. But we're definitely not opposed to it. The greener the energy, the better, in our humble opinion, just because it does help make a bigger dent in combating climate change in that way. But we did work on a grant, I believe it was Innovate UK that we worked on it with, and SunSwap, to make a refrigerated truck using solar panels on the top of the truck. And I guess you could actually find more information on that with us after this talk, so reach out.
I guess I'd just add that, so currently we're charging from the grid, and Rwanda, like a bunch of other countries in the region, has more rural electricity than there is use for. And so this is essentially a productive use of energy that creates value and jobs and so on, using the grid extensions that are already there. So we're currently charging off the grid, which means our emissions are kind of tied to what the grid is. In Rwanda, that's, I think, about 50% renewable, but I don't have the numbers offhand. Yeah, I guess that's that.
Next question is, how do you manage driver safety? That's a big question, because it is something that is very important to us. we wouldn't in good conscience produce anything that would put anybody at risk. But I don't know if you want to jump in with this one, Bassem.
I mean, we manage it with, we have rolled out protocols for incident reporting. We manage it with training. We manage it with things like, I mean, honestly, the team often pushes themselves because they want to make this succeed. And so one of the things that we've had to do is sort of instate limits on how long people can be up and working, and making sure that people hand off driving to another driver. So there's a whole bunch of different things that we do. We also had some work on figuring out a network of safe houses for female drivers when they're out in the country, especially at night. So it's something that we're constantly thinking about and constantly managing for and constantly honestly learning about, because you do something and then when the incident happens, you realize that you need to have a better plan. One of the things that we've done recently is we've done a whole lot of driver training on, including on defensive driving, and we've sort of rolled it through the whole Rwanda operation, all the way from the top, where everybody, including the MD, has to learn about defensive driving and how to drive safely and so on. So it's something that we think about a lot. Good question. And it's something that you just have to build processes for and keep learning about.
Yeah, I think a big thing is that we keep the channels of communication very open with the team, and we will often ask them what is causing you maybe to want to pick up these extra hours, and how do we solve that problem and make it more practical for people to be able to hand off safely, etc. And I think that we've gotten a lot of value just by hearing what they have to say.
Yeah, I guess the last thing I would say is, so the OX has actually built 2 specifications. I think they're N1 specifications, is that right? Yeah. So I guess it's a European and UK standard, which is the highest standard for safety. So it's designed for that. It's designed to, we test things like how does it roll over and what happens when it crashes and this kind of thing. So even in the design of the truck, there's a lot of safety, but also in the way we manage people, we need to think about it as well.
Yeah. And the final question is, what's the cost of the truck?
A lot. But our target is about a $45,000 truck. We're in, I think, the 3rd round of prototypes, and so each prototype is about getting cheaper. And then essentially we're now kind of buying single batteries, single EDU, single set of tires. Once we start buying these in bulk, that cuts down those expenses. And then once we move into proper full-scale manufacturing in about 2 or 3 years, then you get the real cost reductions there.
Yeah. And on the note of safety, I think it's worth noting that we will never cut down costs of the truck if it impairs safety. All of our suppliers are tier 1 suppliers, like you said. So we're really proud of what we've put together in that sense. All right, so that's the end of the Q&A session. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's watching online or here in person. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking here. I'm sure I can speak on behalf of my colleague as well. But I do want to leave you with some words. If for only $150,000 repaid over 3 years, over 1,700 individuals can be taken out of transport poverty without contributing negatively to climate change, the cost is minimal in the grand scheme of things. If every for-profit enterprise went in with this thinking, the systemic issues that ultimately led to the acceleration of climate change would no longer be an issue. So, the time is now to put Africa first, not last, in the fight against climate change. And the time is now for corporations to hold themselves accountable and make changes for us all. Thank you.